On this edition of the Western Night Sports Podcast, we talk rugby, both league and union. And we also have a talk with a guy called Frank, but not about drugs. Hello and welcome to the Schportz podcast. My name's George Beard. I'm the Western Night Sports Editor. I've got Tom Williams today with me, who's the Assistant Sports Editor. Say hello, Tom.
Hello, Tom.
And we've got Dan, who it's Dan. He's just chilling there on the sofa.
Right,
Doesn't really have a title, but you know he's a nice guy. He's one of the lads.
I just turn up.
Just turns up when he wants. Today's podcast is about rugby, both codes, union and league. First half's going to go through about league. The still ongoing World Cup, hosted right here in Britain. And the second half will be about union, the recent autumn internationals. Even though it's quite early, a bit of a preview for the Six Nations next year. And we'll be talking about the differences between league and union, which is better. And some key controversies, about the game. So Tom,
George,
we had a very nice Saturday, didn't we? We watched the big hit together in this very room.
Hanging out.
Two bros hanging out. How did you find it?
I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of the more tense games of rugby of either code that I've watched in a very long time.
Of course, he was referring to the England-New Zealand match, because the Australian-Fiji match wasn't tense, was it?
No, that was far more one-sided.
No, we ended up playing a games console.
It's true. It was like you're playing as Australia against Fiji on easy mode.
It was.
It was like 62-0 at some point.
I think that was
Is
the
that how it
final.
finished?
64-0 was the final score.
64-0.
So that's not really a great semi-final. However, so we'll be talking obviously about more about the England-New Zealand game. What was your favourite moment from the game?
I have to say, New Zealand's first try. It was
first try.
Easily one of the best tries I've ever seen.
The miracle pass.
It was starting on one side of the pitch, several just incredible passes or moments, and then behind the back pass whilst the passer was in mid-air, just over the touchline, straight into the hands of the try scorer, ran through and scored. It was
ideal. I remember watching
beautiful.
it, and they went up to the video ref to see if he'd gone out. They actually played through about 30 seconds of footage, because there were so many ifs and buts that they might have been a forward pass there, he might have dropped it there, and it was all fine. It was all fine.
Even though
if you can see a still of the picture of where he's sort of in midair, but over the line outline, over the touch line, but he's in midair and he passes it in midair, and it still counts because obviously he hasn't grounded his foot. So that was probably, I probably concur with you on that one. That was probably my favourite one.
Although it was just a heartbreaking end.
Of course, it was a heartbreaking end. That high tackle.
Yeah, cost the game.
Which did cost us the game.
Yep. Extra 6.
Not that we're bitter about it, but
no,
we kind of are.
Not at all.
Knock on!
New Zealand.
Yeah. Definitely.
Knock on!
New Zealand. Dan, what have been your favourite moments from the Rugby League World Cup? I know you're more of a Union fan, but have you watched anything? Have you bothered?
Well, I've watched all the previews. To prepare for this podcast, I have actually just watched all the tries. And honestly, that try from New Zealand, the first try, was amazing. It was just the whole minute that around, across the pitch, some amazing acts from there, just passing it in, from the guy jumping in and passing it back, to then kicking it over the side, to then do the same thing. It was amazing. But I know I spoke to Tom after the England-New Zealand game, and he was just like, it was an amazing game.
Well, because Dan, you sadly weren't here on Saturday, were you? What were you doing?
What was I doing? Oh, I was watching the new Hunger Games
The new
film.
Hunger Games film. Other films are available.
Yeah.
How-
I thought that film was amazing. I am a little bit biased.
a little bit biased towards the Hunger Games. I mean, this is a rugby podcast.
This is a rugby podcast. Yes.
We'll stay on topic, but Hunger Games out now.
Yeah. Very good. Review from the Western Eye. Very good film. Very good.
Yeah. Check out the website.
Not only that, like New Zealand destroyed the hearts of the English, but also destroyed the hearts of the Union team. Was it?
Oh yeah, New Zealand.
Ireland?
They beat Ireland at the weekend. They beat England a couple of weeks before that. So they've done quite well on British soil.
They've done really well.
British and Irish soil, I should say. But we should save the Union.
Yeah, we'll save that for a bit later.
Save the Union bit for later. But we Tom and I were lucky enough to go to see the Cook Islands.
Yes, we did.
Against the USA.
At
and
the
then
Memorial
absolutely
Stadium.
pissing down Memorial Stadium, just up the road,
Completely.
Filton Avenue,
Home of the
in Bristol.
mighty Bristol Rovers and Bristol
Rugby.
Rugby.
Bristol Rugby team.
Producer George, a Bristol City fan.
Yep, he's not happy, is he? Look at
Does
him. Look at his
just a
grimacing.
mention of Bristol Rovers.
Just the thought. So, yeah, then it was a really good game.
An excellent game.
Rugby, the USA's first ever match in its first ever
match.
tournament.
First ever match in a Rugby League World Cup. First ever win.
First ever win.
An
First ever
excellent-
try.
First ever try. First ever points.
I mean, for me, what I got out of the game is the standard of kicking was to be desired.
below par, shall we say?
Below par. Not ideal.
Nope. You would expect even the least experienced kickers to be able to get one from about 30 meters out from right in front of the post.
I would favour one of sort of England's props to have a better go.
Definitely.
Than to be honest, both sides, Cook Islands and the USA. Let's be fair, both were pretty awful at kicking.
Oh yeah.
But you know, it was good fun. It's good fun for the crowd.
Oh yeah, it was an excellent game. It was
a great game.
One of the very
did piss it down, but best thing about it, only cost a $5.
Only a $5.
World Cup rugby.
Yeah, which says as much about the quality of rugby.
Yes. It was a good crowd though, because Bristol, you know, heavily Union part of the world. You've got Bristol, Bath down the road, Gloucester up the road.
Yeah.
On Gloucester Road.
Not exactly a huge Cook Islands or American community in Bristol either.
No, there is. I think it was a lot of neutrals, shall we say?
Let's say about 90% neutral.
90% neutral. And also, another thing we took from the game was the manager was allowed to run onto the pitch.
The USA's manager.
The USA's manager was given.
It was like
some sort of
watching a training session of a school team where the coach is running on behind, shouting like advice.
It's like they didn't know how to play the game.
It was quite literally like that.
It was like they brought the Union side over and they've gone, bugger, it's the League World Cup. Right, crash course, I'll be on the pitch with you.
It's all very similar, but
it's all the same. It's really not. If you say that to any League fan or any Union fan, they would oppose that to the grave.
At the very core of the game, they are the same. But
I mean, they are very similar.
I believe Dan wants to say
Dan wants to
something.
interject here. Why do you prefer Union? Because we're talking about League. It's a great game. Why do you prefer Union?
Well, to be fair, I always grew up with Union. I first recognised Union, of course, in the 2003 World Cup.
But do you consider yourself a Southerner or a Northerner? Because that bears a large part on which
I'm very much
code.
a Midlander.
A Midlander.
I don't count myself as a Northerner.
See, the Northerner would not class a Midlander as a Northerner, and a Southerner, you're sort of in the middle because nobody really wants you.
Well, that's really harsh.
Why? It's the truth. Let's be honest. It is the truth. I've spoken to many Northerners, and I'm obviously a Southerner, so I've got a good. I've done a survey.
My dad came from Liverpool. My mum came from the Midlands, so more northern, I guess.
I mean, Liverpool's just an anti-rugby city altogether. I think.
Yeah,
and to be honest, there's no Union side, there's no League side.
But the main reason why I prefer Union than League was mainly because I went to a school that played Union. We didn't.
Yeah,
really...
I suppose Union's more of a school. You learn it at school before you learn League.
Yeah,
especially in the south. Anyway, like I only did at League at school. Yeah, I mean, couple of piss about PE sessions, really. To be honest.
It's when the coach really can't
Because
doesn't have any idea what else to do.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of like,
we're going to do league.
Let's
for a
involve
change.
everyone. You know.
Yeah.
Let's try and get it out the scrum. Let's not have a scrum that collapses every 2 minutes.
There's only so many times you can play touch rugby.
There is, yes, there is. So what I'd like to talk about now is your school experiences and the anecdotes you've got of rugby. Tom, would you like to head off proceedings?
I would love to. I feel as though my union career,
Career.
for want of a better word.
I mean, you're 20.
20. Yeah, I had to retire.
20. It's been retired 2 years. So
I had to retire for medical reasons.
Medical reasons.
I injured myself to such a bad extent that I still am kind of suffering from the injury now if I don't warm up my ankle properly.
So I'm guessing it's involving your ankle. I mean, sports science doesn't go miss on my
We were doing our warm up before a match, jogging around the pitch. I was in the B team.
B team. How many teams though? How many teams?
3.
Oh, we've done well there.
Although I feel as though
applause.
I feel as though I should point out I did slip into the 4th team.
But you said there were 3 teams.
Out of 4. No, this was a different age group.
Oh, I thought they created a team just for you because you were so bad. So 3 became 4 and it was just you against some goats. Yeah. You have to play with the worms though at the bottom of the pitch.
Knock on! You guys. Knock on!
Ooh.
So I'm just swearing as much as
those
possible to fit
For those
in
of you at home, he called me something quite horrible.
Rhymes with knock on. This bit's getting cut. You can just see George's face.
He's got some editing to do, boy.
Anyway, tangent over. Doing the warm up, running past the A team, and I put my foot into a rabbit hole.
A rabbit? I'm glad you said hole because I thought you just put it into a rabbit.
I put my foot into a rabbit hole. And
which hole?
It's anus.
It's anus. Ideal. So not a warren then.
No. Oh yeah. A warren. It was a warren.
It was a warren. It was a rabbit called Warren.
Not an anus.
Oh dear.
So I put my foot in a rabbit hole and
rugby. Yeah.
Can we start this story again?
This is gold. This is golden. Carry on.
But I feel bad for George because he's going to have to edit this to sound professional.
Carry on.
I put my foot in a rabbit warren, a hole in the ground. No animals were harmed.
No animals were harmed. No animals were present. Nobody said they were. Nobody accused you. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. And then
twisted your ankle.
Twisted my ankle.
Sprained? Broken? Or just
several. I think it was some sort of like ligament tear.
How old are you?
16.
I was going to say, I thought if you're 11, 11-year-olds don't break tear ligaments.
17.
It's fair enough.
And
grown boy.
As I'm lying there on the floor, all of the A team rush over to me. Not to.
So this is what you were in the C team.
When I'm in the B team.
This is when you're in the B team. What are the A team rush over? What are the B team doing? Playing.
They rush over. Well, the rest of the squad, the rest of my squad, all knock on. Off. The A team run over. I think, they're going to come and help me. No, they come and laugh at me. And then if I
was captain of the A team, I would have laughed at you.
Then I get up, and then immediately head straight back to the ground because I can't support my weight on my ankle. And then they suddenly realise I'm actually quite badly injured. But I should say, I did manage to walk off the injury and play the entire game.
Oh, like a soldier.
Like a soldier.
Wow.
I probably shouldn't have because my ankle looked like the elephant man's penis.
That is graphic. That's a reference to the elephant man.
And his genitals.
And his genitals. Wow.
Yeah.
Just a little word. You may have known we did a podcast a couple of weeks ago about the Ashes. And we had a special guest. We had Jonathan Trott on the show.
We did.
who unfortunately he's had to go home now. He's gone back to Britain to here because of sort of depression and not feeling too great. So we wish him all the best. We do. I'd like to have a shout out to David Warner, the Aussie opening batsman, who said some nasty things about our Johnny, and I'd like to say he's a bit of a knock on, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I hope David Warner, I hope Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad take your bloody head off. I think we're all in agreement here, aren't we, boys?
We are all in agreement.
All in agreement. So just a shout out to that. And
hope you get better soon, Jonathan.
Yeah, of course we do. I hope you get better soon.
Friend of the show.
Loyal show performer is what he is.
Obviously, he's not going to be here this week because he's got more important things.
He's got more important things to do. He's going to have some chill time with the family, and I'm sure he'll appear on the show very soon. We're just going to take a little break now. After the break, we're going to talk about rugby union. We've done league, I think, so we'll talk about rugby union and preview the Six Nations.
Yes. Oh, quickly, can we do predictions for the rugby league final this Saturday?
Good shout out. Of course we can. Tom, predictions.
I'm going. I'm going to go Australia by between 5 to 10 points.
5 to 10 points. Dan, you don't really know about. You're not really qualified to talk about the subject, but
no.
Carry on.
But by the performances in the semi-final, I want New Zealand to win, but my brain is thinking Australia will win.
So you want
by some margin.
So your brain and your heart. They're saying different things.
They're at a battle right now.
At a battle. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think New Zealand will win, and I want New Zealand to win purely because David Warner's Australian. I think for me, he's ruined the whole country. He's ruined the whole clan of Australians over there. And
their reputation has been destroyed.
Their sporting reputation, anyway.
Yeah.
So well done, David, and we'll catch you after the break.
Bye.
Welcome back to the Schportz podcast for part 2, where we talk about rugby union. Unfortunately, our great friend Tom has his ankle problems flared up again, so he's been put on the treatment table. We've got the top level physios treating him as we speak. It's a bit of a shame, Dan, wasn't it?
It was a bit, but I've got to be honest, it was a little bit funny at the same time.
It was a bit funny. But you know,
especially straight after he talked about his ankle story.
I mean, what are the chances?
Coincidence, isn't it? Yeah.
What are the chances?
It is pretty interesting to see.
But you know, very serious. We wish him all the best.
We do hope that he gets better.
Maybe he'll be back on this podcast later. We don't know. It's open ended. But
hope it wasn't anything more serious.
We tried to book in a guest for this podcast. We had Jonathan Trott last week.
Yeah, we always try and get a guest here at the Western Irish Sports Podcast.
We always try and get a guest. You know, spice it up a bit. You know. So we were ringing up for Brian O'Driscoll.
He gladly said yes.
He said yes before the
New
Zealand
last
game.
Time, and he was like, "Oh my
I love
God.
the Ashes. As an Irishman, I love the Ashes." And
the caliber of the podcast.
When are you doing a rugby one? Well, Brian,
wow.
We're doing it next week. Do you want to come on? Yeah, why not? That's how it went.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's on the treatment table as well, as he suffered a pretty severe concussion against the All Blacks.
The onslaught, yeah.
With the weekend just gone, the close match that was. So he sent along his dad.
His dad, Frank.
Frank O'Driscoll, here he comes.
Oh, Frank. Hello.
Hi, Frank. Having trouble with the door there, Frank.
Oh, it's a bit of a stiff door there. Hello there. Hello.
Frank, how are you?
I'm grand.
Good journey?
Not too bad, thanks. I got the ferry over.
The ferry over? Couldn't afford a flight?
Yeah, it's more fun on the ferry. You get to bring your own car.
You get to bring your own car? Ideal. So how did the game go for you as someone's dad?
Well,
were you on the touchline shouting?
Well, I'd be on those days when Brian used to play for his school. I'd be on the touchline. I'd be shouting, "Get your knock on ass up there, Brian! Get the ball, tackle him there, Brian. Come on!" But no, it's a bit different now. I'm not a coach. I just sort of sit in the stands and watch my Brian play rugby, and it was It never gets easier watching him get injured like that.
No,
Pretty bad concussion there.
he's approaching the end of what has been a very illustrious,
a very grand career.
very illustrious career. What do you do, Frank, for a living?
I'm a doctor.
So you're not retired then?
Well, I'm semi-retired.
Semi-retired doctor.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you should be treating your son.
Well, I did, but he wanted me to come here in his place.
He wants to come here. I mean, he's concussed. He wouldn't know what he's talking about, but that's great.
It's so bad not being able to make the podcast.
So what are your thoughts for the Six Nations coming up? Obviously, Autumn Internationals didn't go too well for Ireland.
Not
unlucky weekend just gone.
I know. It would have been, I believe, Ireland's first victory against the All Blacks.
Chances for Six Nations. You won the Grand Slam 2009.
We did.
2014. You going to win it again? Or do you reckon England, France, Wales? We could probably discount Scotland and Italy's chances.
Probably. Well, first of all, never say never.
Never say never.
You can't go into the tournament
as
thinking...
Justin Bieber would say.
You can't go into the tournament thinking, we're going to lose, because then you're probably going to lose.
But that tends to happen.
Exactly. So you got to go in with a positive
attitude. Do you reckon you've got the players? Or do you reckon you probably think you have the best attitude, but do you reckon you have the better players?
It's not all about the best players, though, is it? You can have all the best players in the world playing on a team, but they might not gel as a team, might they? Whereas the Irish boys, they gel brilliantly as a team. You got an excellent pack led by Jamie Heaslip, and you got all sorts of wonderful backs. You got your boy Johnny Sexton.
Got your boy Brian.
And my actual boy Brian.
Your actual boy.
My actual boy. My son and heir.
Son and heir.
Yes.
To the O'Driscoll estate.
To the O'Driscoll doctoral estate.
Fantastic. Well, for the do you reckon Johnny Sexton's got the place nailed down for Ireland, or is Ronan O'Gara going to make a late surge?
No, as much as Rowan's a grand lad. Obviously, I've had many interactions with him over the years with my boy Brian. But I think Ronan. He knows when to step down. He knows that Johnny Sexton's got more of his career left in front of him than Ronan does, who's served Ireland brilliantly, but I think it's time to let go of him.
Fantastic. Well, Frank, thank you very much for coming on to the show.
No, don't worry about it.
It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for filling in as a late sub.
Yes.
For your son, Brian. We wish him all the best.
I think that you two were horrible to your co-presenter, Tom. I popped in to see him, and I gotta say, his ankle was in quite a bad way. And it was all because he was quite happily walking along, and you two decided to dig a rabbit hole in front of him for your own amusement.
Well,
and I think that's despicable. As a doctor, I think you should be more aware of your friend's injuries. I think it's shameful. You shower of bastards! I'm leaving!
Well,
that got extreme. It was a pleasure having him on, but I didn't think he was going to react to that.
No, I don't think we'll be exchanging Christmas cards this year.
Digging a rabbit hole.
No, is that Tom made a miraculous recovery?
I think, yeah.
Look at him,
Frank has rolled his troop up.
He's limped back in like he's just been like he's just served.
Hi guys.
In the First World War. Look at him.
I don't think it's
mug.
Bad. I mean, it's quite bad.
It's quite bad,
but. I've been medically cleared by our excellent team of physios and doctors.
By Mr. Smith, the physio.
Yes, our physio, Dr. Smith.
Doctor. Well, debatable.
He's a doctor. He's not very good. That's why he's just a physio.
Other physios are available.
And we strongly recommend other physios. Because basically he just jumped straight to amputation.
Bit old school.
He's very old school.
Old school. Anesthetic for weaklings.
Yes.
He just lets me witches' remedies.
The only thing is, he does, if he is going to amputate something, he did offer you to down a bottle of whiskey. He does drink a bottle of whiskey himself as well. You'd be surprised how often.
Surprised how often? Wow, I think we'll probably end that there.
Moving on.
So we'll talk about Union. Six Nations predictions is what I've just been told through my earpiece. Dan, what are your predictions?
Well, looking at like kind of last year's results, Ireland and France performed pretty badly. France was awful last year,
Indeed.
and I was actually very glad that Italy did as well as they do. I think the English do like the underdogs, and I think Italy kind of fits that role very well.
Yeah, we like the Italians.
I am predicting this year England will win, then Wales. I'm saying Ireland will improve on their performance last year.
Well, Tom shakes his head there. What have you got to add to that, Tom?
Well, first of all, Dan has a weird obsession with Ireland. Italy.
He does like Italy.
And
Italy's a lovely place to visit.
yes, but they're not good at rugby.
Well, football's their national religion. Well, after Catholicism.
Catholicism. It goes football. Catholicism.
Family. They're getting better.
Bunga parties.
For certain individuals, perhaps.
I still want to know what one of those is.
You still don't know.
No. Anyway, back to rugby.
Back to rugby. Okay, so we've got your predictions. You reckon who's going to win?
England.
Dan thinks England will win. Full house. We all think England will win. Thinking with our hearts.
Yes, but I
Never dangerous.
England or Wales.
The fence is getting wider.
Maybe Ireland.
He does like sitting on the fence, doesn't he?
If Ireland win...
Tom the Fence Sitter. Williams would be the wrestling name he'd go with, wouldn't it?
It's a terrible wrestling name.
It's so intimidating. So there we are. I mean, we've got our predictions in. So let's talk about some things. I just thought we'd talk about a hot topic, both in rugby and football. Video technology. What are your thoughts on it, Tom?
I think if used correctly, it's incredibly beneficial to the game.
You wouldn't mind seeing a football game broken up, minutes until we get a final decision? And what sort of decision in a football match would you like to see video technology use? Bad tackles?
I think, for starters, there needs to be purely just some sort of goal line technology, because clearly there's...
Well, it's been used in the Premier League.
Yes.
But it's not been used widespread
yet.
At the moment. And it hasn't actually been of use in the Premier League, if you know what I mean, because there hasn't been a decision to be made using it. That's not obvious.
With...
'cause they're quite rare, really.
Yeah. They're quite rare, but they always seem to crop up at a major tournament.
Well, 2010, South Africa, Frank Lampard.
South Africa.
We would have lost anyway. Let's not kid ourselves. We were dicked, to be honest. So,
but it does raise questions.
And also, I like in rugby how the refs are mic'd up as well. I think that's quite a good thing.
Because there's quite often when I've been watching football, and as I'm not the most avid football watcher,
you wouldn't be. You support Norwich, but go on.
True. As I've not been. A decision has happened and I've not been entirely sure what's happened.
Yes.
And why.
Yes.
Whereas if
they're not good at speaking after the game, are they? They don't really justify their decisions. You sort of have to guess sometimes.
Whereas with rugby, you hear exactly what the referee is saying at all times.
As American football?
American football, they don't have a mic on all the time, but they should just do it like American football, turn it on and
very
make
loud.
Like a loud blanket statement to the entire stadium.
I think Dan's got an opinion.
Classic Dan.
Classic Danta.
Well, I personally think that a lot of sports can learn from rugby and the technology used in rugby. Like, the reason why I'm starting to dislike football even more is...
You've never liked football.
Yeah, I'm not too fond of football, but that's mainly because it's broken up so heavily.
Why do you prefer rugby? Because it's broken up.
It's broken. Like,
football, that is.
In rugby, if someone goes down injured, they play on. Of course, it's minor... I don't know, but... If you get someone falling and like diving in football, that kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah,
and it can completely swerve the game from just complete victory to just uncertainty. And I think in that case, really, you do need technology.
I think rugby is probably... I think technology would be beneficial in football, but it's one of those things. You know, if you start on that path, where does it end? Because if football's already broken up and you add technology, it's going to break it up even more.
True. Whereas with rugby, it lends itself more to the game because there's more things that could potentially have prevented a score or a score could.
Yeah, there's forward passes, there's knock-ons. There's going out of touch.
correct grounding of the
correct
ball,
grounding, correct tackles,
whether a ball's been held up. But
being
the
held
list
up.
is fairly endless.
I suppose the referee in rugby, the referee's visibility is always, well, not always, but is often restricted.
Yeah,
whereas in football, it's less restricted, especially in the Champions League where they've got referees behind the goal.
Yeah.
So you've actually got assistants. So you've got one on the touchline, one on the other touchline, then one behind the goal, and one on the pitch. That's 5 in total. Whereas in rugby, they don't have that to that extent.
Yes.
So no, it's an interesting dilemma for football, but that's maybe for a different podcast. I think tennis use it well.
Yeah,
the slow clap of the challenge.
It's more the kind of sports it's lending itself to, because the only real thing we can think of with football is whether a goal is or is not allowed. You could potentially say whether someone was offside or not, but
yeah.
At the end of the day,
I mean, technology in cricket, it didn't have a great summer. Technology,
true.
Especially hotspot.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't be need to be used in football, but it is difficult because even with technology, you're still going to get it wrong. It's still not always going to be 100% right. With technology, it's still an interpretation.
Yeah, it's a little bit more. It gives you an idea.
But then surely the ultimate decision should be the referee on the pitch. Yeah. And he's not going to have a TV camera ready and available, is he?
True.
And if he does, it's still going to break up the game even more.
Although one aspect would be for I've forgotten. Moving on.
That's all right. Moving on. Moving on.
Good
Eloquent
job. This can be edited.
So
knock on.
So I mean. The thing with rugby that seems to change quite often, in a similar vein to F1 almost, is the rule changes. Every season there seems to be a rule change. This year, well, I'm not sure if it's this year, but it's very recent anyway, is the scrum.
The past few years, the scrums.
Scrum, it was touch, engage, and then it was touch, pause, engage, and now is it touch, bind?
Now it's bind... was it?
We don't even know, do we? I mean, it's been farcical.
It's crouch, bind, set, I think.
Crouch, bind, set.
And then there's a pause.
And then they engage.
Whilst the referee is checking if the scrum's all right, and then he'll say to the scrum half that they can put the ball in. Which
is never straight.
Yeah, referees this year have been told to check if the scrum's being fed or not.
Well, they haven't been listening, in my opinion.
And yeah, every
the games we've seen,
every match I've seen, there's been horrendous.
Just been chucking it. I mean, the job of the hooker is not to hook the ball back anymore.
Its job is essentially redundant.
It's essentially to push forward and just fling a leg out.
Yep.
A token effort.
England, one of England's hookers, even Tom Youngs, has said in the past. I don't know if he still believes this. That he thinks that hooking is one of the more dangerous parts of the scrum, because obviously if there's a leg flying up, especially considering like the lock's faces are very close to where his foot might be, which what I think was as much an attempt for him to justify a feed.
Yes, no, definitely. Good point, well made.
Thank you.
Good point, well made. So I mean, next Rugby World Cup Union hosted in this country.
Hosted in this country. 2 years away.
2015.
2015.
Go with that. So that'll be good fun. We've done the Rugby League World Cup. We've hosted that. We've hosted a couple of cricket tournaments recently. World 2020s.
They are staying on cricket very briefly. They are going to be playing England versus India.
India, I saw
right down the road.
Right down the road,
where we're recording this
at the refurbished. What will be the refurbished
Gloucester County Cricket Ground.
Bristol Gloucester County Cricket Ground. Can I just say, have you seen the prices for tickets?
No.
Minimum £55.
Jeez.
I mean, they've got to pay back for the refurbishment. I know,
Clearly.
but that's a mug's price. That is.
That's hefty.
I'll
say the prices at the BS7 gym are incredibly reasonable.
Incredibly reasonable.
Much more reasonable than £55.
I've heard Jonathan Trott likes to go there.
He does like to go there.
Maybe he'll go that there. Now he's back in this country.
Maybe.
Now he's returned. So there we are. I think. What was that, Dan? Crowds in rugby. Yeah,
There
we'll
are
talk about crowds in rugby.
matches.
There are crowds in rugby matches. Well done, Dan.
Well done, Dan.
But yeah, in comparison to football, they are. I don't know. It's a difficult thing. So I think
They're-
there's maybe a bit of a class issue. Dare I say?
I don't know. I don't think it's going
Because,
back to
because
league
rugby
a
and
little
cricket
bit.
perhaps has seen slightly more of an elitist game, if you know what I mean.
Yes, but I think the
I think you get good
rugby
atmosphere at
generally
both
league
grounds.
or union, and then again there's a class issue between league and union.
Well, and geographic, yeah.
Yeah, but
Which are
that's as
both-
much
both
to do
linked,
with the class
yeah.
issue. I mean, I agree that football crowds are stereotypically seem to be a bit more
Ruffians.
partisan and hooligans. Whereas rugby, yes, there's obviously going to be clear splits between who's supporting what team.
Yeah,
but
but I think
you often see.
I think the players have got
fans
to take
into
credit
mix.
for that. The rugby players
yeah.
as well, because they seem to be better behaved than football players. Yeah.
True, they set a better example.
You know, Mr. Suarez, as a prime example, you don't really see
wouldn't
that.
see any rugby player getting away with what Suarez does.
No, but having said that, there have been instances where rugby players have bitten people.
True.
But then
there's been
it's probably a more apt environment, to be honest. If I'm honest, it's less blatant.
Although, even though I feel as though I should
we
point
don't
out,
advocate biting
we do not advocate
in any sport at Western Eye.
Producer George
Is
looks
indifferent, undecided.
He seems to be giving a.
He wants the other side to the debate on that one. We'll get Luis Suarez in next week, shall we?
I'll try work on getting him.
Try get on him. Tom's the guy with the contacts.
Yeah,
you should see his address book.
You should do.
Fantastic.
Sporting gold.
Sporting contacts. Fantastic.
Like
Well,
reading a sports personality of the year shortlist.
Yes. Who do you reckon will be on it? Because that's being announced.
Oh yeah.
That's being announced in 8 minutes' time, by the way.
In 8 minutes' time. Well,
On the one show, it's being announced.
If we hang around,
Who would be your sports personality?
I think this year was always going to be a bit of a tough act to follow after the Olympics.
After the Great Olympics, yeah.
Bear
in mind, I'll list you some events that have happened this year. We won the Ashes.
We did.
Murray won Wimbledon.
Oh, Andy Murray.
That's about it. To be honest, football,
We
not
won
covered
the
ourselves
Ashes,
in glory.
but it does look like we might be losing them again.
Yeah. However, the Ashes will still be going by the time it's the actual event. Sports personality's been aired. It's going to be Murray, isn't it?
Phil the Power Taylor.
No, I don't think so.
Don't know why
Don't know.
darts is.
My top three, personal top three, not in an order. Probably be Andy Murray. I'm a big Mo fan. I was gutted he wasn't on the top three last year, and he won the World Champs this year, and just won everything he raced this year. I think he deserves shout out. Chris Froome won the Tour de France. That's about it. I mean, F1, Jensen and Lewis haven't done well. Football, no.
Same old.
Cricket. I mean, we should choose a cricketer. I think if you chose a cricketer, it'd probably be Ian Bell. He had a great Ashes series, man of the series.
Can't think of any.
Others really. Would you say Gareth Bale? Has he done enough? He'll be on the shortlist.
As good as he is, all he really did was sign for a
Real Madrid,
a massive team.
Because Tottenham, they still finished outside the European places.
Oh yeah, but
he's a great player, but he's not worth.
I think there's
that money for me.
They tend to go for a more
being an Arsenal fan.
They tend to go for a more like national,
all encapsulating,
sport, if possible.
Yes, national sport.
I personally think,
unless you're a Tottenham fan, you're not going to, or if you're Welsh, perhaps. But
Andy Murray is, I would say, the bookies' favourite.
Well, if he's going to get it, it'll be better to have it this year because next year Scotland might not be part of Britain.
Exactly.
So do it this year.
His last year.
Do it this year. Otherwise, he might not be
never.
eligible next year. So, but I feel like we've digressed. I think we've exhausted all rugby avenues.
Yeah.
This podcast, I think it's been good, lads.
I think it's been very
top
good.
discussion, intense discussion. Thanks to Frank for popping in as well. He's on his way back to Dublin now.
He's on the
to see his son Brian. So there we are. I think next podcast is likely to be after Christmas. So we'll keep you waiting.
There's something for you to all look forward to over Christmas.
Yes. So have a great Christmas, everyone. Don't eat too many mince pies, Dan. And
a happy New Year.
And a prosperous New Year. Cheers.
Rachel Adedeji.